It's the Sports Peninsula podcast. Coming up, we're talking boxing again with our special guest, Chops from the Original Sports Podcast, and Claudio Reilsono, host of the Boxing Authorities and the Claudio Reilsono Show podcast. Today, we're previewing the August 3rd card for this Saturday's showdown between Terrance Crawford and Israil Medrimov for the WBA Super Welterweight and WBO Interim Super Welterweight titles. We'll also discuss several of the fights on this undercard that promises to be an exciting night of pugilism. Now, here is your Sports Peninsula team. Pugilism, where'd that word come from?
That's a 50-cent word right there, Jack.
I love it. Welcome to the Sports Peninsula podcast, everybody. My name is Dave Drzezinski Drew, and we are going to be talking boxing, the sweet science. And joining me, as always, first from the Original Sports Podcast is Chops Michael Mills. How you doing, Chops?
Man, I'm excited. I'm happy to be here. You know, when it's boxing, combat sports, man, I'm like a kid on Christmas. I'm ready. I'm excited.
It's a big card coming up. And we have a special guest here as well. I'm Claudio Reilsono, host of the Boxing Authorities show and also his own show, the Claudio Reilsono podcast. Also baseball coach at Carnegie Mellon University for finishing up your 19th season now, Claudio. So welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on. You got a wealth of experience there in baseball and your boxing show. So thank you.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate both of you, especially Chops. Thank you.
Hey, before we jump into it, Claudio, you've been a GM and a scout for several years, and you're still doing that. Talk about that for a little bit, if you would.
Yeah, you know, the dream for me ever since August 19th, 1973, when I was 8 years old, was to be in professional baseball. And James Gamble of the Global Scouting Bureau gave me that opportunity in January of 2001, and I've been with him ever since. And it's a blessing to have those three letters next to my name. Pro, and then I've been blessed to be coaching for 41 years or whatever, and I've been at CMU for 19, and I'm very, very grateful for all the opportunities I've had, and including the boxing show and the podcast and everything else. I never take any of it for granted, for sure.
That's fantastic. And folks, if you want to see, I got to get the Harry Carries down because I got to be able to read my stuff here. But the Boxing Authority show, Claudio, that's on WBCBoxing.com. And then your Claudio Reilsono show is at ClaudioReilsono.com. And you can find that on YouTube as well. Is that correct?
No, not my show on YouTube, but you can find the Boxing Authority show on Steel City Luke. Luther Dupree is one of the co-hosts along with Smoking Jim Frazier. As Chops knows, he's been on the show a few times. So it's a great show, and I enjoy being with both of those guys for sure.
And just one more thing I want to talk about before we jump into the fights. You've got your book, Lead from the Heart Up, Not the Head Up. And that's really a book kind of not only about the sports field, but also the corporate playing field as well. Talk about that.
Yeah, anybody who's in the leadership capacity, lead from the heart up, not the neck up, how to create a positive winning culture on the field and in the office. I got the title kind of from my mom. My mom, like Chops, you know, whenever he talks about boxing, man, he goes from the heart up, as do you. So my mom used to say, never speak from the neck up, speak from the heart up. So I kind of turned it around, never lead. Don't be fake, in other words. You know, give your players, your team, your employees, you. And basically the theme of the book is what Dick Vermeil used to say, the Super Bowl winning quarterback coach of the Rams who was on my show. He said, your players, your team, your people won't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So that's basically the theme of the book.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a life lesson, not just in sports, no doubt. So check that out, folks. You can get that on Amazon as well. I'm going to check that out, Claudio, too, because being in management myself, I'm sure I'll be able to learn something. Even though I'm 50 now, I can still learn things. So I'm going to check that out.
Always learning. Always. I'll be 60 in October. Always learn.
Well, we're going to learn some things here on August 3rd on Saturday when we see the Bud Crawford Israil Medrimov fight out in Los Angeles at BMO Stadium. I believe that's where the soccer team plays in the MLS. And guys, we always like to see Bud fighting, but I know, and Chops, will start with you. This isn't really the fight we were looking for, was it?
No. But here's the thing. This is what boxing has become for so many years. But I will give boxing credit because this year, end of 2023 and in 2024, they're giving us a lot of great matchups. They really are. So I got to give boxing its credit. But you're right. This is not the fight we wanted to see. Hell, it took us so long to see Bud versus Errol Spence, but at least we got it. But no, this isn't the fight we want to see. But at least we get to see, Bud go to work, and we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, indeed we will. And Claudio, when we talk about Bud Crawford, and we're talking about one of three 4-belt pound per pound unified champions in the world, with the 4-belt with the WBO in play, but it's 40-0, 31 knockouts, and fights of note. Chops mentioned the Errol Spence Jr. fight. He also TKO'd Sean Porter, Kell Brook, and Amir Khan on his way to his 40-0 record. But talk about what is it about Bud Crawford that in your mind, did you see that you really feel makes him one of the pound per pound best right now in the game?
Before I answer that, on top of what Chop said, something that all three of us, I'm sure, when we watched a major fight, most of the undercard was bad. Yes. I'd say in 2000, probably 23, when you see the loaded cards, like I'm interested in all these fights. And so this is a great card. Now, back to Bud. First thing I think about, and I know we're going to get to some fighters that we'll name later, they get out of shape. They lose that momentum. They disappear for quite a while. This guy here is busy. He's always in shape. He's always ready. He takes the job seriously. As they say, that you don't play boxing. Okay, this guy doesn't play boxing. This is why he's undefeated. This is why he is who he is, and he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, and he's a champion. He's always, in other words, like I said, he's always ready.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's going to be any issues with Bud Crawford maybe taking a night off during a fight or taking any of his opponents lightly. Let's say he was avoided. But we talked about Gennady Golovkin. Bud Crawford and Gennady Triple G were avoided like a plague early in their careers, and they had to literally get to almost 30-0 before they started getting some fights of note. A lot of guys knew they were for real, and Bud Crawford certainly is. Let's talk about Israil Medrimov real quick. Now, this fight is for Madrimov's WBA World Super Welterweight Championship, and also for the WBO Interim Super Welterweight Championship. Now, Chops, this is a guy. Once again, we talked about a lot of the fighters from the Ukraine, like Loma and Usyk, etc., that haven't had a lot of professional experience. Have a plethora of experience in the amateurs. But again, Madrimov's only 10-1 with 7 KOs. He's 29, so he's still in his prime. And he's an orthodox fighter. Talk about what you know about Madrimov real quick and his style.
Okay. And I'll give him credit because he's taken this fight. Because like we said, Bud they avoided him for years. And the way he dismantled Spence when it wasn't even close, I think there's a lot of other guys that, I don't know if I want Bud. So I give this young man credit. And I say young because he's only 10 fights into his career. So I give him a lot of credit for taking this fight. However, to me, it's going to be baptism by fire because you've seen his record. You've seen the fighters on his record. He is about to realize come Saturday night, there are levels to this. We're not even talking X's and O's yet, just what and how Bud is going to approach this. Your boy, he's never seen this before. So I give him credit. You know what I mean? He has knockout power, and he's knocked out some guys. But knocking out guys that are 4-0, 5-2, are a lot different than Bud Crawford. But I give him credit because he's taken it. He signed his name on the dotted line. I'll give him credit for that.
I agree with you there. And Claudio, how do you see Madrimov approaching this fight? Is he kind of playing with house money? He's got nothing to lose, everything to gain, or is he going to be really cautious in your mind? How are you seeing this playing out, at least early on?
I think styles make fights. I remember when John Ruiz fought Roy Jones Jr., and he said, I'm going to outbox Roy Jones Jr. And I said, wow, why in the world would you even say that? Right? Yeah. What he should have done was maul him.
Yes.
Use his weight advantage, his size.
Dirty boxing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So in this case, in all honesty, and what I hate to see is, and even the team, the coaches, the trainers, you have to do your job and say, look, This guy is an upper level, as Chop said. He's an upper tier, upper level guy. You're not going to. Let me put it to you this way. If, as a baseball coach, if we're playing a superior team, okay, we're not going to play them pitch for pitch, base for base, okay, stationary game. We're going to try crazy things. We're going to do a bunt when you chip. We're going to do a hit and run. We're going to steal. We're going to do some fakes. If I'm fighting, Mike Tyson, I am not going to beat him straight up. So I'm going to get a stick. I'm going to get some dirt thrown in his eyes. I'm going to do whatever. If I were Madrimov, I would not. I'd go in there right off the bat and just to hell with it. Mug him, maul him, throw punches, land a big shot, surprise Crawford. Maybe you'll catch him cold. You're not going to beat him straight up. You're not going to beat him by jabbing. No, you're not going to do it. If you do, people say, oh, he may have a shot. No, he will not. It'll be a unanimous decision or a stoppage. He has to go in there and jump right in and say the hell with it, throw bombs, and not just head shots, body shots, maul him, and do, as corny as this is going to sound, when Apollo Creed said in his corner, he's strong or whatever, in other words, Rocky wasn't just there jabbing and sticking and moving. He went in there and he tried to beat him. And that's how you're going to do it. You're not going to stand toe-to-toe. You're not going to do base-to-base stationary game. You have to do something crazy, surprise the world. Almost, and people laughed at him, Peter McNeely against Tyson.
He did what he's supposed to. Yes.
I'm sorry?
That's what he was supposed to do, though. That's the only chance he had to just rush him.
But a lot of people didn't do that. Okay, to me, I'm a huge fan of Buster Douglas, personally and professionally. Buster is, forget about, the ups and downs, physically one of the greatest boxers that I've ever seen in any weight class. Unbelievable jab, accurate. That night against Tyson, he was able to do that. But a guy like McNeely couldn't build up rounds. He had to go there and mug him. And that's what Madrimov has to do. Don't fool around, but that's what's going to happen. He's going to stand there, probably not throw a lot of punches for first few rounds, measure him and all that. Meanwhile, Crawford's going to build rounds and win more rounds. And then he's going to have to go for the home run later in the fight. And then you get sloppy and you're done. And then you're tired. The first couple rounds is when you have your most strength. That's when you go nuts.
Let me ask you guys something. Have you guys watched or studied any of Madrimov? Have you watched any of them? Because I'll be honest with you, until he signed on this, I hadn't. So I went back and watched some of his fights and studied whatever have you. And Claudio is spot on so many aspects because he has to come out and jump on him. Because we've all seen Bud take off. I hate to say take off, but he's calculating the data for the first round or two. He always takes that first round or two. But here's where I think, but your boy Madrimov, he doesn't have a KO past the 6th round. We know Bud gets stronger as the fight goes on, and he's had some KOs after 6, 7, 8, 10 rounds. You know what I mean? My only thing is mechanics. This cat, Madrimov, is one of the most awkward Ukrainian fighters I've ever seen. Now, I understand maybe Usyk isn't textbook on the aspect of the greatest jab, whatever, but he still fights in a framework and whatever. Madrimov, I've seen him taking 3 giant steps to his opponent, not even working him behind the jab, not shuffling the feet, 3 huge steps, dropping his hands, just doing things that you would never teach a fighter, but it has worked for him against lesser competition. Crawford is a sharpshooter. He's a sniper. That is what I think is going to be Madrimov's downfall, the way he enters. Because people born around don't die square. He can only do what he knows. And he's going to come in haphazardly. And I don't know, man. I don't know. But he has to come in strong. He can't sit there and try to outclass him from a distance. Can't do it.
Yeah, and that's a good point, a good question, Chops. I admittedly hadn't watched much of him until the fight was signed as well, but I have studied him as well. And you stole a lot of my thunder here. Busy left jab. And I noticed that a lot in his fights. He takes, it's like a hop step, or like you would call like a crow hop in the outfield, right, Claudio, and making that throw. It's almost like that where he's lunging it, and it's a lunging. So I mean, it brings power, but he low center of gravity. And I like what you guys were talking about. It was a great segue, Claudio, how you'd want to bull rush Tyson. Well, Madrimov's quite a bit smaller than Crawford, a couple inches shorter, but also there's a 6-inch weight reach advantage for Crawford. So it's going to absolutely behoove him to get inside. He's got to get inside if he's going to have any chance at this. Again, nice lead left. He's got a strong right cross, but a very loose defense, like you said, Chops. It's unorthodox, but it's really loose. And that might work against me, but I'm not sure it's going to work against Bud Crawford.
I know.
I don't know, but it's just gut feeling I have. But Claudio, how do you see this fight playing out in your mind?
Unfortunately for Madrimov's team, I don't think that they're going to do what we said he's going to do and use his size to his advantage. But real quick, Jim Valvano, the old coach of the NC State Wolfpack, had a point guard, Chris Corciani, who I had on my show. They were playing a guy named Chris Hammond from Georgia. Chris Hammond was a power forward, I'd say about 6'6", 6'7". Everybody thought Valvano was going to have Charles Shackelford or a guy of that size cover him. He had Chris Corciani cover him. Why? Because Hammond had to dribble, and there's Corciani already low. Okay, so he used that size advantage. You have to, if he uses his size advantage and bum rushes him and maybe catches him, well, we can have something here. But I think odds are he's not going to do it. He may give Crawford a round or two of troubles, but boxing does not get enough credit for being a mind game as well. So I think Crawford will figure it out, get some distance, jab, right hand lead, so on and so forth, put some pop, and I think it'll probably be a late round stoppage.
Drew, I'll be honest with you. I would have lost money on that because you said Crawford being a bigger fighter, because Crawford's the one moving up in weight. And when I looked at them in the ring, in their fights, your boy, I mean, I know they're fighting different weight classes, but after a weighing, guys will put on more weight and whatever.
Sure.
But Madrimov still looks significantly more solid and swole, in his fights. Okay, fellas, you're going to hear this a couple times tonight. I'm not saying these guys are who I'm saying, but they remind me of. This fight, to me, I think Crawford should bring in his old, rest in peace, to the late, great Pernell Whitaker. Remember, Pernell Whitaker could stand in front of you, never get hit, and fight. And I think that's because your boy Madrimov, he does like to go to the body. He throws wildly. Therefore, he stays in his box. He, as in Crawford, miss, roll, and whatever. Take the first, like I said, there's a couple rounds where he's the strongest, whatever have you, and then start to go to work, because that's everybody's got a puncher's chance because they're throwing leather. He's a grown man. They've been doing this for years. That's the chance I'm giving Madrimov, because he does throw heavy. But fellas, because honestly, the skill set, I give you credit for taking the fight, but you have to know you're not ready for this, But again, hey, you want to. It's a bigger payday for him without question. But he as in Crawford is going to remind me. I'm thinking he's going to do a Pernell Whitaker. No need, because this guy can't exchange with him. I don't think he can move with him. His defense is so nice. I think he's going to roll. He's going to be able to plant his feet in Crawford and just not get hit too much, not get hit hard, not get hit solid with his defense.
Yeah, I would agree with you guys. And Claudio, I see a late stoppage too. I'm going to go round 8. I think it's going to take him about 4 rounds to really start getting into a comfort zone and really start to dominate the fight in terms of punch percentage and landing and then effectiveness, because of that awkwardness. Otherwise, I would have probably said after 2 rounds, all bets are off. But he's a very awkward fighter.
Yeah,
he's a thicker guy, Madrimov, but he's shorter, he's stockier, and it's amazing. Yeah, I was surprised. Bud's got like a 5.5, 6 inch reach advantage. So and let's not forget, if Crawford switches styles, and I don't believe Madrimov's ever seen that before either, and guys do that a lot of them aren't very effective. Crawford's a master at it. I mean, he really is. So yeah, I just don't see, I can't imagine. I mean, everyone's got a puncher's chance, but I just don't see Madrimov winning this fight at all. But the big question I have for you, both of you, and I'll start with you, Claudio, before we get into the other fights, is assuming Bud wins this fight, and we think he should, what's next? Who's next for Bud?
It won't be Canelo. In my opinion, Canelo, his management team is incredibly smart. They pick and choose the right people at the right time. I don't. He's going to go for more belts. He's going to want to dominate that division. And I think he has the frame to maybe even move up a few more pounds. But as far as who they're going to fight, again, Crawford is not one of those guys, too, that'll fight anybody anytime. I mean, there's so many things that are going on. As you guys said at the opening, this isn't the fight that we wanted to see. So I just know it won't be Canelo because there's some rumor about that, but it won't be that.
Yeah, that's interesting. And that was the big talk that this might be the tune-up for Bud before that. But yeah, there's always doubts. But Chops, what are you seeing?
Well, and it's funny because I was going to ask you guys that literally that's what I wanted to ask, and I don't know because who else do we want to see him fight? You know what I mean? Because moving up to some of those guys, Benavidez could be a little too big. I don't know. And what is he? 36, 38. Crawford 36, 30. Yeah, 36. Because at this, how much longer can he 36. Wait? You know what I mean? How much longer can he wait? And if he knocks Madrimov out within 8, and I mean looks good, I mean he's crisp and looks good, does he want to keep riding that momentum and get something else here relatively soon? Or I mean, I think that plays a lot in. But at this point now, Bud is, to me, like you said, more belts, as Claudio said, more belts, and he doesn't need to fight a 5 through 10 at any weight class. He's strictly a big game. He's a big game hunter. He's a professional angler. So who is going to be willing to put their belt on the line? Because we've already seen you can't really – there's some people that have called for Canelo to fight other people, and he's not giving in to the peer pressure. So I don't think he'll give in to the pressure and the public call for him to fight Bud. So I don't know. I really don't know. That's why I want to see what you guys said on it. Who do you think it will come next?
Yeah, I would have said Canelo as well, but there's a lot of doubts, like you said, Claudio, around that. So right now I would say I'm kind of wait and see what's going to happen in the next couple of months, see how things shake out. But I don't believe Canelo wants any part of David Benavidez, and rightfully so. In my
well, let me ask you this, because we don't get to go. Okay, so starting with Claudio, who would you like to see?
I would like to see him fight Canelo. One thing, again, me growing up, and you too, Chops, David, I'm not sure. You look like much younger than all of us.
He does.
Everybody fought everybody.
Yes.
Everybody, they wanted that challenge. Yes, they wanted the money, but they wanted that challenge. And I was watching Hagler, John the Beast Mugabe. Mugabe was tough to play with, but Hagler fought him. He wanted that challenge. Hearns and Duran fought each other. Hearns, Hagler, Sugar Hearns, Sugar Duran. They all fought each other. They wanted to fight the best. Nowadays, I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody wants to, and everybody's tough on Twitter, though. Everybody's tough on Twitter.
A lot of keyboard warriors out there, right?
Man.
Yeah.
So, all right, we normally pick rounds, Claudio. You have any round you're looking at this one to end?
Stoppage. I agree with David. It's going to take him a few rounds, maybe to get him off of him and figure out if Madrimov does go after him the way I said he should. I'm saying 9 stoppage.
All right, like that a lot. I am 50, by the way, Claudio. I just turned 50 actually, and you grew up in the Detroit area at age 50. You were a Billy Sims fan. You were a Lou Whitaker, Alan Trammell fan. And then you were a Thomas Hitman Hearns fan.
Sir. Love Billy Sims.
Oh, yeah. Gotta love Billy. Great barbecue, too, by the way. Awesome barbecue. So, but let's jump back into the card, guys. Great conversation. I think, it's pretty clear Bud can and will win this fight pretty convincingly. And like you said, Chops, if not, there might if he does, I mean, it's just all bets are off on who's next. But let's talk about the co-main event in this one, which is Isaac Pitbull Cruz taking on Jose Valenzuela for Cruz's WBA Super Lightweight Championship. Cruz is 26-2-1 with 18 knockouts. A notable fight for him, of course, was the decision loss to Tank Davis. who he fought very, very tough. And then Jose Valenzuela is 13-2 and 0 with 9 knockouts. Guys, I admittedly hadn't done a lot of scouting on Valenzuela before this fight, but I have done some. But I'd like to start with you, Chops. What do you know about Valenzuela, and does he have a chance in this one?
Yes, because he does throw heavy leather. I'll get that. Only problem is he also gets hit too. He gets hit. But what stuck out to me, he lost to Chris Cole. I can't even think. Colton. I can't think of Chris something. He ran him back to back. He lost the first time.
Yep.
Then he ended up knocking him out the second time. And you saw the game plan change. I rewatched that fight. And then not only did the game plan change, round by round, he stuck with what his coaches said to do. Now, that lets me know he's coachable. I just don't know if he'll have the time to make those adjustments against Cruz. Pitbull's going to be in his face, fellas. You know that. You know. You know what I mean? If he Cruz is not going to give him any distance, and that's really what Valenzuela is going to need. Use that jab. Try to get him off you. That jab has to be crisp and pinpoint. However, Cruz comes in straight. He doesn't have a whole lot of head movement. He doesn't come off the line a whole lot. So he's there to be hit. Maybe you guys can answer this. Have you ever seen Pitbull knocked down? Has he ever been knocked down?
Not to my knowledge.
Because he's got a chin. So I don't even know if Valenzuela, I mean, anybody can be caught. We know that. You've been around it enough to know anybody can be caught. And I think that's Valenzuela's his only chance is just to catch him with the perfect combination on that sweet spot.
So, Claudio, you brought up a contrast in styles earlier with the when we were talking about the Crawford Madrimov fight. There's definitely a contrast in styles here with Valenzuela, a longer, lankier fighter against a shorter, stockier Cruz. And to Chop's point, he throws long, looping punches, but he does have power. What do you see?
A couple things. When you fight someone on Tank's level and lose, and you did well, you get elevated. You elevated. You're better your next fights. Number 2, Madrimov should watch Pitbull prior to his fight and say, that's my style tonight. That's what I'm copying. Because as Chop said, he doesn't give any room. Pitbull, he's just like a fighter named Silky. He's not going to slug. He's going to be silk, right? He's going to move. So Pitbull is going to make it very difficult. He's going to bum rush him, I think, again. And I think he does not use head movement for some reason, and this is strictly a guess. I'm thinking he may a few times pull a Mike Tyson head movement, bob and weave type thing. I think. And the other thing that I'm getting old here. I'm forgetting. Oh yeah, I use this fight as a model every single time when it comes to the mentality of a fight. When David Tua fought Lennox Lewis, I said, Vince Lombardi used to say the greatest feeling in the world is to lie exhausted in victory. The second greatest feeling in the world is to lie exhausted in defeat. But in boxing, if you lie exhausted in defeat, you got clocked. But I said, in order for Lennox Lewis to win this fight against David Tua and or later Mike Tyson, he's going to not only have to be drained physically, but drained mentally against Rock Rahman. Matter of fact, it was my first pro trial camp. My dad and I watched every fight together. Well, this time I was in Atlanta, and we were on the phone watching the fight, and all of a sudden I fell asleep, and I woke up, and I seen Lennox what? He just lost focus for that
split second. Yes,
that's it. There's a great video of Muhammad Ali. I forgot who he was fighting. He's in the corner, loose as humanly, and he's just going like this. And the guy is missing, throwing shots. It may seem like he was fooling around, but he wasn't. He was focused. So Pitbull is going to win the fight. He's going to maul him, okay? But, again, Valenzuela does throw some shots. And if you get hit in the temple or get hit in the liver, whatever, he has to stay focused on doing his job, not hit, but not getting hit.
Yeah, make great points there. So you definitely see Cruz winning this one. You got a round for us, Claudio?
I'm going to say, I have it written down here. What did I say? Usually I don't write anything down. Of course, I don't have my glasses anyway. Pitbull, where the hell do I have him? I think I have him in the, again, in the 8th.
Okay. That's funny. The 8th is when I picked Bud. Here's my thing, fellas.
I have the 6th. Sorry.
6th round?
No, go ahead, Claudio.
6th round.
6. Woo!
Okay.
Here's the thing. We know there's going to be blood and there's going to be leather thrown. We know this. We already know this. Yeah. Fellas, I'm hoping, honestly, for a great traditional Mexican battle. You know, the Mexican fighters, how I'm looking for that from this one, because the other ones, the other fights we're going to talk about, which we wrote, and the other ones, I don't see that. This one can be a barn burner. I don't care if it goes 4 rounds, 8 rounds, or 10. It's going to be a barn burner. I'm going to go a little later. I'm looking for Cruz to win in about the 8th. I'm going to go 8th again. I'd like to say 9th, but I'm going to say 8th. I'm going to go 8th again, 8th round.
Okay. Here, when I look at Venezuela and I watched a couple of his fights on tape, he's southpaw. You know, like I said, he's got the long reach. He throws a long chopping left cross. It's a very effective one. It's more of an overhand left versus a straight left cross. He's very good at changing angles. He's good. He's good to go with the straight jab and cross downstairs as well as upstairs. But he's he seems almost slow at times. And that cross can be a looping haymaker that, number one, you're not going to have Cruz at that distance too often to even land that punch. I think this will be a barn burner, but I see this. I'm going to call an early stoppage here. I'll go with round 4, but I think Cruz will stop Valenzuela. I do not think he can handle Cruz's power. I think Cruz is going to get at him real quick inside, and then he's going to put him to sleep. That's how I'm seeing it.
If I can add to what you said, you make a great point. With the long loop, when you have a long looping guy and you have a guy like Chopstead who's going to be in your face, he has less distance to go. He's going to be throwing the loop. Cruz is already going to be there. He's going to clip him.
Exactly. Unless he does an about face and changes his style rather abruptly, I don't see it.
He needs us in his corner.
I'll take the money.
Here's the thing: if it wasn't such a difference in skill sets, because I gotta believe Cruz's toolbox is just better than Valenzuela's also. But if they were sort of on the same level, from what I saw when he fought his rematch against Chris, and I can't think of it, Colton, I can't remember the guy's name. However, I believe if they were on the same level, that his team could put in a game plan that might be able. But with Cruz, and he's been doing this so long, and like you said, Claudio, even out of the ring, his stardom rose in the boxing world after he fought Tank Davis. Even though he lost, he did get some, forget about the aspect, because we know mentally he got a boost, and he realized, I'm here with the best, I can do this. But even, socially or, in the boxing world, his name rose up. So it's going to be a good one. But like I said, I think just too much power in his face. And I'm not going to be surprised if it's a body shot. I'm not going to be surprised. It may not be a headshot. It could be a body shot that Cruz drills him with.
Great point.
That's true. It's going to be an exciting fight. I don't think there's any doubt. I think we're in a consensus there. But definitely Cruz the winner across the board here for us. Now we got the battle. We got a couple big babies fighting on this undercard. And the first one's Jarrell Miller. And he's taking on the former heavyweight champion, Andy Ruiz. Now, Ruiz is 35-2 with 22 knockouts, and we know what he did to Anthony Joshua. Jarrell Miller, 26-1-1 with 22 knockouts. It's a big, strong man. This is going to be a slugfest. I guess that would probably be a way to put it. Not a lot of dancing and boxing in this one. Going to be a lot of heavy shots being thrown. When I look at Jarrell Miller, I see... And this guy is like a fire hydrant times 10, man. He's just like the thing. Honestly, he's a big, thick guy, throws big, powerful shots. But Andy Ruiz is sneaky fast, and he punches in bunches, like you say, a lot of shots. But he's quick. He's got some quick hands. He can do a lot of damage inside, and he can get inside quickly. All we need to do is look at the Joshua fight, and we can see that. But Claudio, start with you. How do you see this one playing out? This is probably, in my mind, Ruiz's last shot to get into possibly a high upper echelon contention fight, and maybe somehow down the road get another title shot. But this is it for him. What do you see?
Great point. This is their last shot for both of them, because whoever loses this fight will now be an opponent. Okay. Now I'm gonna being a baseball coach, I'm gonna throw a curveball at you.
Okay.
I always thought Andy Ruiz was very overrated. Also, I'm a huge Big Baby Miller fan. I think I see something in him that most people don't like or see. I think he's got good hands. Seeing his size, you would think he would just knock people out. But I think that this fight here, I think Ruiz may lose it more than Miller wins it. What do I mean by that? He doesn't fight. You have to stay sharp. And then so he lost weight. When you lose that kind of weight that quick, you're drained. And you go into the fight, you don't have that snap. Okay. And so I think that's going to hurt him. And I think Big Baby Miller, after his last fight, he showed some signs he was doing okay. Then he faded out. I think, and then he's had some issues out of the ring. But he's going to have to look in the mirror, both of them, but especially Big Baby. Say, look, I got a shot to make some big money. Everything is lining up for me to fight the other Big Baby. He's on the same card, same time, same night, same everything. We've already sparred verbally together. That'll be a hell of a fight, and people will want to watch that. I don't know how much money he has, but he's got a shot to make a nice chunk of change. And who knows, in this day and age of boxing, he maybe become a world champion, maybe, just maybe, but he can make a nice buck. I say he's going to come into this fight more focused. I think this is going to be his best fight. I think he's going to show, as Chop said, he's got some tools in that toolbox. I think he's going to use them.
All right, so you got Miller in this one.
Yeah.
How are you
well, just like Claudio was, I am also. I never was a huge Ruiz fan, but when he knocked out Joshua, had to give him his props. But then we start realizing Joshua's a head case at times. You know what I mean? So, and like Claudio said, he's lost a lot of weight. Big Baby, still as heavy as he was, his last fight, he was like, what, 330? And he still averaged 40 punches a round. That's a lot, man. That's a lot. And since your boy Ruiz has been inactive, I think that's going to hurt him. So going back to what Claudio said, to piggyback off that, I was never a big Ruiz fan. Gave him his props after he knocked out Joshua, but then I see Joshua, you never know what fighter he's going to be from fighter to fight. So, and he's coming in smaller. Like I said, Big Baby was 330 his last fight and still averaged 40 punches a round. Fellas, that's doing work. I don't care what you say, that's doing work. I think he's just going to be too big. I don't think Ruiz can hurt him. And he hasn't fought since 22? And we're going back to 2019, him and Joshua, when we last gave him his props. You know what I mean? So I'm just going with Big Baby, and I'm going Big Baby in spectacular fashion. I'm going Big Baby in spectacular fashion.
Okay. I see Miller winning too. I had a tough time with this one, admittedly. I'm not a huge Ruiz fan. I agree with you guys. I'm not overly impressed. I don't like the work ethic's a question to me. When he's on and when he wants to be good, he can be really good. But he's still limited based on his physicality. He's shown he took training seriously in his last fight, but again, didn't look that impressive in doing so. I don't like the inactivity, and I think Miller's just a more focused fighter for this one. So yeah, I can see that Darrell Miller winning this fight. I wouldn't say easily, but I think he'll win this fight because he's got his eyes set on another prize here, like you talked about, Claudio. The other Big Baby, Jared Anderson, he's taking on Martin Bacoli out of Congo. He's 20-1 with 15 knockouts, and Anderson is 17-0 with 15 knockouts. So this is going to be a nice fight, fellas. Go ahead, Chops.
Hold on for a second, because it has to go back to the last one. Yeah. The way Ruiz was built when he beat Joshua, the way Big Baby's built. Yeah. Like Claudio and I have talked going back to the 70s, 80s, whatever. Fellas, think about this. The way the heavyweights used to be built in the 70s, the 80s. Hell, even when you're looking, whether it was Tyson, whether it was Lennox Lewis, whether it was Holyfield, Michael Moore, Rockman, these heavyweights were always in shape. And again, I understand Big Baby still he's throwing 40 punches, and that's great, and that really is good. But and I'm thinking about this because you said in his work ethic. The fact that we have guys in their late 30s that are still in the top 10 that are fighting well over 300, you know what I mean? I don't want to say work ethic because they're still putting in the road work, and being able to do that. But back like we go back to 70s, 80s, and 90s, I don't care if you were Tommy Morrison. He was built, regardless of what you thought of his skill set, he put in the time and he was in shape. These fighters were in shape. Do you have any idea why heavyweights are like this now?
There's an old line Marvin Hagler said, it's hard to go to bed in silk pajamas and wake up at 5 a.m.
Yes, it's hard to get up there. Yes.
Yeah, it's hard. And Ray Mancini, who I'm going to be with Monday, Chops, he said that whenever he was on his way to the title, if it was snowing out, raining, it didn't matter. He was going out.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, yeah.
As he got older, he was 24 when he retired, but when he was later on, he said, it's snowing, raining, geez, maybe I'll wait till it stops. It's just human nature. It's human nature. I mean, you rarely have that guy who's hungry all the time. And that's why a lot of them retire, because they lose that hunger. And again, you got to watch when you're in boxing.
Yeah. And Claudio, you're right. Like, that's human nature. But like you said, Boom Boom, he got up and did his thing, and other fighters. And as you even Hagler said, it's rough when you're sleeping on 5,000 count shit, to silk sheets, but he did it. You know what I mean? You look at, and I'm like Vinny Paz came back from a broken neck. There's guys, yeah. But they still put the time in. You know what I mean? And that their human nature was like, I'm paid. I'm out of the hood. I'm out of the ghetto now. I'm doing well. But they still put in that time, where these guys fight less a year and they don't have that drive. And I hate to say they don't have that drive, but I say Mills Lane used to say, if I am a carpenter, my hammer, my saw, those are my most important tools. But I'm a boxer. My body is my most important tool. I should take care of it. And it's almost like these guys don't take care of it, just the way they're coming in built. And I was just wondering, why would you think that? You know what I mean? And you can't answer for another man, but I do think about that.
I know me personally. I just telling you what happened. In January, I was doing a speaking engagement, and when they announced me, they said some different things that I've done, so on and so forth. And I'm listening, and I said, it's okay. I can do more. Dan Marino says you can do more. You can always do more. Mario Andretti says if you think you have everything under control, you're not going fast enough. Chuck Noll, whenever he won his first Super Bowl, they said, well, we're going to go back at it again tomorrow. You want to win again. You want to win again. That's life. Gene Simmons, the guy from Kiss, was dirt poor. He showed his mother a $10 million check, and she looked at it and she said, wonderful. What's next? So you have to have that hunger. Jackie Robinson wrote a book. I never had it made, and I always look at it like that. I never, you accomplish something, you go after another. And sometimes guys, like in Rocky, he wins the title, he lives in the fanfare. And what did Mickey say? You lost that hunger, the eye of the tiger. And he had to get back. But sometimes you need to get clocked to hit it back.
That best wake up call there is.
Yeah, Mickey said he got civilized.
Right. Got civilized.
So and my 2 cents on this, Chops. Quite frankly, back in the 70s and 80s, I mean, it was when we saw the Klitschko's and Lennox Lewis's, they were in the 245, 250 range, which was very big. Now you've got Tyson Fury at 280. Now you've got Jarrell Miller, like you said, at 330. There's been talk of perhaps creating a super heavyweight division. Not sure there's not some merit to that, to be honest with you. That's a different type of fighter. But at the end of the day, as a traditionalist, I would hate to see that.
Because we're losing the skill set. Because in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we still saw those heavyweights work behind combinations. Oh, yeah. They still had game plans. Now it's whoever gets hit first loses. You know what I mean? Because they can throw so heavy. Nobody has head movement. Nobody's doing the footwork. So, I don't know. Like you said, I'm a purist too, so I miss.
Well, who do we like in this Anderson and Bacoli fight? We'll start with you, Claudio. How do you see this one?
I watched, I think, all of Anderson's fights. The one I was most impressed with was the one he had the toughest time with, Prince Charles Martin. When he, not want to say recovered, when he took the shots from a big hitter, former champion, and came back, I said, okay, this guy's for real. See, like in baseball, for example, long story short, there was a young man that everybody told me to go look at. He was averaging 17 strikeouts a game, lefty pitcher. And I said, either he's the next Sandy Koufax or he's going up against mediocre talent. He was going against mediocre talent. I said, how is he going to react when he throws his best pitch and it gets hit? How's he going to react, right? So how is a Mike Tyson against Buster? Okay. How is Big Baby Anderson going to react when somebody hits him back and hits him back a couple times and hard? He reacted great. So now I'm with him in the ring. He's got to make sure he tightens things up out of the ring too. Now, as far as the fight, the other thing I don't like about Big Baby Anderson is when he goes southpaw. That's when he gets hit more. And his hands are still good, but defensively he gets hit more. Don't do that. Some fighters can do that and get away with it. That's terrific. Don't do that. You're good enough, being your normal orthodox self. So I like him in this fight. I think Bakole will show some heart, definitely show some heart. I think this will probably be Big Baby Anderson's toughest fight, more than Prince Martin. I think Bakole's going to give him a hell of a run. But I think in the end, again, more tools in the toolbox. I think Anderson will come out victorious. I think it'll be a stoppage around 10.
Okay. I like that. Chops, how you seeing it?
Almost everything that Claudio said, I could reiterate. However, because of that is why I'm going with Bakole. And I say that because of this. And here's why I say that, right? He did get hit and he did rebound. However, he's used to fighting guys significantly smaller. He's normally the bigger guy. So, and okay, now again, Drew, you're a little younger than me and Claudio. Claudio, when I watch Bakole, I think of a young George Foreman before he was about to fight. Remember when he fought, not saying he's Foreman, but remember when he fought Ali, and Ali said, all he does is just woof, woof. Right. That's how Bakole throws punches. And you can hit the guy with a brick upside the head, and he's going to keep coming. His last couple fights, your boy Anderson has went the distance, and and towards the end, he hasn't shown that power. So that, as Claudio said, what happens when you hit a guy with your best shot and he looks at you? What do you do when you get hit harder than you've ever been hit before? So because of, and here's the thing, he does have the better toolbox is Big Baby. He really does. He's younger. He's in better shape. He should have a better gas tank. He has a better toolbox. He's a better boxer. But because of now he lays along the ropes. He's not going to put a whole lot of effort in his Bakole, but he just throws heavy shots. And I'm going with Bakole. However, it's got to be before 7. If that bell hits and 7 and we go 8 or more, I think, and it will go the distance at that point, because I don't think Anderson will still have the power to knock him out. But I think Bakole's gas tank will give out if he can't get him within 7.
Yeah, I see this going the distance, and I can't pick against Anderson because I've been riding that train for the last
You have. That's your guy.
That's my guy, man. I got to go with Big Baby. That's the Big Baby to me, and I would love to see him and Miller tangle after this one. And then winner takes the name, loser has to change their game up. So what are you gonna do? I'd love to see that. But yeah, I think Jared Anderson wins this fight. And you hit on it, Chas, when you said about the size. I was gonna mention that he's coming in as the smaller fighter, which is
very rare because he's built like a superhero. He's built like a cartoon character, baby. Let me ask you guys this. Okay, Joe Joyce just fought, right? Now we have both big babies. Ruiz is fighting. We picked who we believe to win. If Anderson wins, Ruiz wins, because you guys look. What do you see? How does that change the landscape of the heavyweight division? Because honestly, to me, you got Furyk and Usyk. Joshua, when his head is on straight, then after that, it's because we've done this on Claudio's show, who's our top 10. After 4 or 5, it's I like him, you like him, give me him, I'll take him. You know what I mean? So what do you guys think?
I'll start out. It's kind of like you said, it's like a shell game shuffle board between number 4 and 10. You've got Usyk, Fury, and Joshua. I'll put Wilder in at 4 because he's still got that name credibility, and he's a former champion, and he's still got that right cross. Although I don't. The more I see him fight, the more I really, for his own sake, really wish he'd kind of call it a career, to be honest with you. I think he's taking some punishment now. But, I'm getting some flashbacks to the late 90s, early 2000s when the heavyweight division it was the Klitschko's and nobody else.
That was it. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm a little fearful of that. So I'm really selfishly pulling for a Jared Anderson to step up his game and really make it known that, hey, I am a top 5 guy now. And then I'll take on Miller or Ruiz, whoever the winner of that fight is, and then see what happens. But what do you think, Claudio?
If all 3 of us go play golf and none of us are any good, one of us has to win. In Major League Baseball, and forgive me for any fans out there, I grew up in the 70s, 80s, and the 90s, piece of the 90s, when baseball was really good. Trust me when I tell you, those teams would blow these teams out of the water. Yes. Forget about 190-mile-an-hour pitches and so on and so forth. I won't go into a baseball lesson, but those guys would not have the strikeouts in the 70s, 80s as they do now. What I mean is, the fighters today, the era of the 70s, the heavyweights, none of these guys would have been a champion, in my opinion.
No.
Yeah, and the Larry Holmes era, no, they would not have beaten Larry Holmes. They would not have beaten Tyson and Evander and Lennox. Now we're leaking into the 90s. But we are here now. So it could, hey, if Bacoli beats Anderson, okay, maybe, just maybe, he may catch lightning in a bottle and take it all the way. Who the hell knows? I'm with you about Wilder. When you have that eraser, anything can happen. But I think Fury and Wilder just took too much out of each other. Smoking Jim, one of our co-hosts of Boxing Show, Boxing Authorities, he teased me because when they left my house after the second fight, I said, Wilder and Fury are up here, and the rest of the heavyweights are here. Now, obviously, everybody caught up. But Jim says it's the best heavyweight division ever. I totally disagree, as Luther does. I say it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Zhang could pull something off. Parker did pull something off. I think the 2 Andersons could carry it because of their personality. And Fury, obviously. So it'll be interesting. Not great, but interesting. And I hope it is interesting. I hope these guys come to fight and put on a show and come in shape.
Yeah. And if you think about this real quick, think about this. Wilder looked good, and he was knocking everybody out, as you say, with that eraser, but he's losing to guys that have a jab. Yeah. In the 90s, 70s, 80s, everybody had a jab. All the heavyweight. You had to. Usyk was losing to Fury when early rounds on, to me, because Fury was popping that jab. And if you look at all the heavyweights, as soon as they're battling someone that can establish that jab and actually have a game plan in today's decade, they're losing out. And that's why, because we did it on Claudio's show, that literally we talked about that, about how the fighter is different. And honestly, anybody there, the Boxing Authorities, you got to check it out. When him and his buddies, they go at it, it's like brothers arguing on the backyard. It is hilarious when you see Claudio and Smokey Joe and Dupree. They're going. It's great, man. You guys got to tune into that show.
And one of the segments we had were people who didn't win the belt back, and Jerry Cooney, he could hit. Okay, so you had a lot of guys back then. I was a big fan of a huge fan of Mike Weaver. He was on our show. Mike, he would lose all of a sudden, bang, like he did with Tate. You had some guys with some talent. Michael Dokes, great guys, had some talent. And what Chop said, these guys now, I don't know if they would have beaten those guys. I know they're much bigger, but the skill level, those guys did have some skill. Yes, they had some out of the ring issues, yes. But I just think that this pool of heavyweights, it's interesting.
Yeah,
Man,
definitely.
and you talk about Weaver, man, and Dokes, Michael Dokes, that man.
I was in 10th grade. Was I in 11th? 10th or 11th? I think I was in 10th when that fight happened, March of '80. I'm pretty sure. So I was in 10th grade. We were all talking about that fight. I was a huge Mike Weaver fan. And
you talking about Weaver and Dokes?
No, Weaver Tate.
Oh, okay.
And everybody's calling my house. I had the old black rotary phone, right? No call waiting. But everybody's calling me. Claude, he's losing. Then all of a sudden, man, he throws that dream shot, end of it, Tate falls flat. We had Mike on our show a few times. He's a wonderful guy, too. Great guy. But I was so happy. I said, oh, man, he's losing. And then all of a sudden, bam, and he hits it. You know, real quick, another fan I was a fan of, Mr. Snipes, Ronaldo Snipes. Man,
man, without question. Fellas, I'm not 13 yet. I'm 12. Dokes and Weaver. I remember like it's yesterday. Fought 15 rounds because they used to go 15 back. Whatever they fought 15 rounds to a draw. Fellas, when I'm telling you, it was the end of 15 rounds of Hagler Hearns. It was I read that fight when they hit each other with everything but the kitchen sink. That was those fights. Oh man, I loved them.
I gotta interject this. Tony Bellew against David Hay. Man, oh man, those guys. You talk about Hagler Hearns. I had to be I don't know. It was the first fight, I think. Man, they were just stroking each other and popping each other and coming back and getting knocked down. And oh man, it was unbelievable entertaining. But again, with those guys would have been hell today.
Yes, and I watched this the other day. I rewatched on YouTube. Donnie Lalonde and Sugar Ray.
Yes.
I love Donnie Lalonde. And I like Donnie Lalonde because if you saw Donnie Lalonde walking down the street, you might think he's a sissy because his blonde hair, the longer hair. He put that 1-2 on you, take out all your fronts. That's why I like. And Donnie Lalonde used to look like he just looked like he can't fight, whatever. But as soon as he got in that ring, it was like he's here to put in work. And that was a great fight, man. When I'm telling you he gave as good as he got, great fight.
He hurt Leonard early. In that fight.
Yes.
Donnie, and forgive me, I don't want to sound funny about it, but Donnie's a very good friend of mine as well. And he wasn't when he fought Leonard. I love Sugar Ray. Him, I don't know. But I'll give you a quick thing about Sugar Ray Leonard. Every time Sugar Ray had a big fight, me and my wife would start dating again, right? Long story. We were on a boat together when Donnie and Sugar Ray fought, and my daughter was born May 17th, Sugar Ray Leonard's birthday. But Donnie and Sugar Ray are friends now, and that was a hell of a fight. And yeah, Donnie did some modeling. Donnie's still a great looking.
Yes. He didn't look like a fight. No, I don't know what Donnie's background was. A lot of fighters come from poor, poverty-stricken, whatever have you.
He ran away from an abusive home at age 15, owned real estate at age 19, Canadian light heavyweight champ at 23, world light heavyweight champ at 27. He's living in Costa Rica, doing great, wonderful, beautiful family. And he is the nicest guy. I don't care what. He's just a great guy. Just a great guy.
Seriously, like you said, he did modeling, whatever. If you told me Donnie Lalonde started boxing hypothetically before just because he didn't want to ride yachts anymore. He just didn't look like a fighter. But as soon as he put those gloves on and you hit him and he's still there in your face, giving as good as he gets, I'm like, if you don't like Donnie Lalonde, then I was like, wow.
He fought I think his name was Davis. Go watch when he won the belt. He fought a few guys defending the title, and he shook them. He could hit.
Yeah.
And the thing
he left it out there.
He had a bad left shoulder that he hurt in hockey, and it was a pin. And it didn't. When he threw his left, he didn't throw it.
He couldn't turn it over.
Yeah, it was a little different because he had a pin in there, but he still could hit. He could hit.
Man, that's who.
Man, as they say, don't make him like that anymore.
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, he never took a round off. Vinny never took a round off. And legends, and they're great people as well.
This is great conversations, fellas. Definitely appreciate you both. And Claudio, before we sign off here, where can we see your stuff?
Well, you go to ClaudioReilsono.com. Even if you butcher the name, somehow it'll come up. So all my shows are on there, and my book, and speaking engagements and things like that. And of course, WBC. What's the website? I sent it to you. WBClive.boxing.com.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. And also, we're on freeboxing.com. And love doing the show with Luther and Jim. We're taking just a hair of a hiatus because we're changing studios and things like that. But so you can check us out on those platforms.
Awesome. Great having you on here. And thank you very much for joining us. Do not be a stranger. You come back and see us again anytime.
I'm on Draft Nation. We're doing a baseball talk show. So tune us in there. But Chops is the greatest. You guys are great, Dave. Thank you so much for having me on. And I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Claudio. And then before we sign off, Chops, you got anything cooking at the Original Sports Podcast?
Man, again, it's rough because I'm the only one on our podcast that likes combat sports, boxing, MMA, whatever have you. So when these big fights come up, I want to talk about them on the pod, but nobody else does. But of course, we got the football season coming on. We got a couple Steelers we're about to bring on the show and just doing our thing. But the Original Sports Podcast, and it's kind of funny because Claudio and I met through a guy that I do the podcast with now, Mark. I was born and raised. I don't know how he and Mark met, but I was born and raised in the Italian neighborhood. Only black guy in the Italian neighborhood. So I'm from Meride, Marlacchi, and Tanucci. That's who I grew up with. So when he hit me with Claudio, because he does boxing, man, just how you and I go back and forth in text, the same way Claudio and I do, talking about text all week. And before you know it, man, we've been talking for 30 minutes in text and just about boxing upcoming. I love it, man. I love it. But, you like saying you can find me, Big Chops, on Instagram, Big Chops 79, on Twitter at The Real Big Chops. So we're just out there. And again, find us on 5 different platforms, on Roku, the Original Sports Podcast.
Fantastic, Chops. Always great talking boxing with you. And, of course, folks, you're seeing us on YouTube. So click the subscribe button, subscribe to the channel, like the video. We got a lot of content. We try to put stuff out weekly. We talk about a lot of sports, mostly Michigan-based, but when we talk about boxing, we like to extend our reach a little bit to the world when we talk about boxing. So check us out, and again, let us know what you want to hear and what you want to see from us, and we'll be happy to deliver. So my name is Drew. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you, Claudio and Chops, for joining us, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Take care.
All right, man.
This has been the Sports Peninsula Podcast. To subscribe to the podcast, simply click the subscribe button on our YouTube channel's homepage and give us a like. You can also follow our audio podcast on multiple platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Google Podcasts, just to name a few. Give us a follow on Twitter. Our handle is @SportsPodcast to check out our latest releases. Thank you again for watching and for your support. Remember, when you want to hear all about sports in the great state of Michigan, there is only one Sports Peninsula Podcast.